The stories presented in this video are real, but we have changed the characters' names and altered images to protect their identities. The creator of this video is not an investigative officer. These narratives have been sourced from various internet platforms. Our intent is not to accuse or target anyone in particular. Thank you for understanding.
Nobody is going to kidnap you in the middle of the day. Many of you who are viewing this video have probably heard this from friends or other individuals you hang out with. While many people aren't, many of us have an odd awareness of our surroundings. In reality, studies indicate that women are far more conscious of their environment and where they travel than men. Women look about, prioritize their safety, and are the first to report any strange sensations or dangers they encounter. Despite the fact that many women possess this wonderful innate trait, they may be the target of the remarks I just described. Comments that are completely untrue, mind you. Every day, people are abducted in broad daylight. Show this video the next time someone asks you why you're so nervous about your surroundings, since it's really hard to understand the situation of 18-year-old Kelsey-Smith. Not only was she kidnapped in the middle of the day in a crowded Target parking lot in Kansas. Although it may not be something you see or hear every day, it does occur. Being kidnapped is terrible, of course, but it makes more sense to do it when the victim is out by themselves, in a remote location, and ideally at night. However, what are your thoughts on this case? One thing will be clear to you after hearing Kelsey-Smith's terrible and tragic story. Evil intentions and deeds are frequently arbitrary. If someone happens to be within its range, day or night, things won't go well. Greg Allen and Missy Smith welcomed Kelsey and Smith into the world on May 3, 1989, in Overland Park, Johnson County, Kansas. She was the family's middle child. She has a brother and 3 sisters. Kelsey had a bright and vivacious attitude as a child. I mean it when I say bright. She was gregarious. She was a delightful person to be around and loved her family and friends. Kelsey was the kind of person who took on challenges head-on. Want to bet? Was her go-to response to anyone who told her she couldn't do something. It's also safe to assume that Kelsey was a team player because, according to her parents, she wouldn't take anything from them unless the other siblings received the same thing. On May 24, 2007, Kelsey received her diploma from Shawnee Mission West High School. From the beginning, she was a highly expressive girl. She enjoyed playing a variety of instruments, performing, and everything in between. Kelsey played the clarinet and participated actively in the marching band at her school. She also participated in chorus, art, writer's workshop, theater, track, and more. She also had a part-time job at the AMC movie theater at the time of the case. Kelsey was scheduled to enroll at Kansas State University in the autumn to pursue veterinary medicine after graduating from high school. You see, Kelsey wanted to work in the medical industry. Initially, she intended to become a doctor, but she changed her mind and determined that veterinary medicine was the best path for her. At the time of this case, Kelsey was also seeing a boy by the name of John Beersmith. He had fallen deeply in love with Kelsey. John was drawn to Kelsey more than anything else because she was intelligent, gregarious, and simply enjoyed life to the fullest. In the Smith home, John was equally well known. On occasion, John's girlfriend's family would invite him to join them for dinner and activities at their house. Greg, Kelsey's father, and John also got along well, and they mainly connected via sports. John was seen by Kelsey's family as the ideal partner. Kelsey was the kind of person who would celebrate even the tiniest of accomplishments, even if the relationship was still relatively fresh. After 6 months of dating, Kelsey made the decision to go to her neighborhood Target and get a small present for John on June 2, 2007. However, since Kelsey never came home, this was also the day that everything changed for her family. June 2, 2007, began as any other day would. While Kelsey worked a shift at the AMC theater during the day, her mother Missy, had to go to a friend's wedding. Kelsey went to the local amusement park with her sister Lindsay, her father Greg, and her after work. Around 6 o'clock that evening, Kelsey wanted to make a quick trip to Target to give her boyfriend John a gift to commemorate their 6 months of dating. Initially, Kelsey asked her sister if she would want to accompany her, but she was unable to do so due to her busy schedule, so Kelsey got into her 1987 Buick Regal and drove herself to Target. Now, Kelsey was known for doing this. It wasn't as though Kelsey was heading somewhere strange or dangerous because she was familiar with the local Target. Furthermore, there was nothing to be concerned about because it was still light outside. Kelsey, however, continued her journey. After parking her car, she entered the store, and CCTV footage captured her moving around the establishment to retrieve the items she needed. Kelsey was dressed in shorts and a light pink tank top. Additionally, according to phone records, Kelsey called her mother, who indicated she would be home shortly before disconnecting. However, it was somewhat strange that Kelsey missed a call from her boyfriend, John, a few minutes later. It wasn't like she left her phone at home or something because Kelsey always answered it and she was just speaking with her mother a few minutes ago. John became rather concerned about this and went to Kelsey's house to find her missing. Everyone thought Kelsey would be home by now because so much time had gone, but she wasn't. Greg was immediately frightened and contacted Kelsey several times, but she refused to answer. This was really unnerving. It was somewhat strange that Kelsey suddenly went completely radio silence because everyone knew that she always answered the phone when her parents phoned and that she had just spoken to her mother. When her parents called her pals to find out whether she was with any of them, Kelsey said she wasn't. The Smith family found Kelsey's silence to be heartbreaking. Later, Greg and one of Kelsey's sisters took a drive around the neighborhood, even checking the parking lots of many stores to be sure Kelsey's car was there. They were able to locate Kelsey's vehicle, but oddly, it wasn't in Target, where she was allegedly last seen. It was discovered abandoned in a poorly lighted Macy's parking lot at Oak Park Mall. When Kelsey's family realized something was amiss, they quickly enlisted the help of investigators. The investigators examined Kelsey's car when they got there and discovered her wallet, purse, and other possessions as well as the items she had purchased from Target. Other than Kelsey, her phone was the only item missing. The car was in perfect condition. There was no mess, and the police didn't see anything suspicious. However, something pink protruded from the trunk when the cops examined the vehicle from the rear. However, nothing particularly noteworthy was found in the trunk when detectives opened it. After forensic analysis of the vehicle, investigators discovered a single handprint on the driver's side seatbelt, but it wasn't Kelsey's. The car had been driven, but not by Kelsey or any of the family. Due to the police's confusion, they were forced to review CCTV footage, and the missing person inquiry was formally launched. On a typical day, Kelsey had gone to Target, but now she was missing, and her car and possessions were discovered abandoned in a different store. However, what had taken place? Police decided that the best way to acquire answers was to go to Target and go through CCTV footage for any disturbing evidence, so they did just that. Investigators went over the CCTV material that was provided by Target personnel. They witnessed Kelsey enter the business, wander around, grab her belongings at the register, and leave. There seemed to be nothing unusual. Kelsey didn't meet or speak to anybody. Everything appeared normal, and she was not frightened nor tense, which the police found perplexing and annoying. However, after packing her belongings into the car, Kelsey drove away from her house, according to the detective's analysis of the parking lot's CCTV footage. Why would she do that? Greg and Missy searched for their daughter on their own as the detectives reviewed the video. Posters of missing persons were printed and displayed wherever possible. As the minutes passed, their fear grew, and all they wanted was for their daughter to return home. There was a massive search for Kelsey. All of the surrounding areas were searched by her classmates, the Smith family's neighbors, and a number of other volunteer organizations. Everyone was afraid about 18-year-old Kelsey, so the town banded together to find her. To clear their doubts and gain answers, the police even questioned Kelsey's boyfriend, John, and her family. However, as they looked over CCTV footage from the Macy's shop, where Kelsey's car was discovered abandoned, everything changed. Despite the terrible quality of the tape, the investigators were able to see a figure exiting Kelsey's car after turning it off when they slowed it down. Oddly enough, though, it wasn't Kelsey. The person appeared to be a man dressed in dark shorts and a light-colored shirt. However, who was he? Furthermore, why was he using Kelsey's vehicle? Armed with this knowledge, the detectives immediately returned to the target CCTV tape and searched for the same man. And this time, this additional information made the already unremarkable footage creepy. As it turned out, Kelsey entered Target after parking her car directly in front of a pickup truck. A few seconds later, a man in dark shorts and a white shirt came up behind her. The pickup she parked next to was really owned by the man who followed her. As Kelsey wandered the store and obtained what she desired, the man was observed avoiding her. The enigmatic man continued to follow Kelsey after she was spotted leaving Target. Interestingly, Kelsey never appeared afraid in the video and was never seen looking over her shoulder, suggesting that she was ignorant that the man was following her. The idea that the man was approaching her without her knowledge is just horrifying. Additionally, this prompted the detectives to examine the Target parking lot video frame by frame when Kelsey was packing her car. It appeared as though Kelsey was spotted getting into her automobile at regular pace. However, it appeared that someone or something ran up to Kelsey's car from the left side and tackled her as the video was shown frame by frame. It turned out that Kelsey was falling while being tackled, not leaning down to get into her car as it had first appeared. For the police, this was a blatant indication that Kelsey had probably been kidnapped. Similar to the film from Macy's, where her car was later abandoned, the shadow in the video was likewise dressed in the white shirt and dark shorts. The investigators were now aware that foul play had occurred. Now, though, where was Kelsey? Who was this man? Well, the only way to reach Kelsey and her kidnapper was to use her phone position. Unfortunately, Verizon, Kelsey's cell phone carrier, excessively prolonged this portion of the investigation. As you can see, as soon as Kelsey vanished, her parents asked Verizon Wireless to track down her phone position. Greg, Kelsey's father, was a police officer himself, so he understood that if there was a real possibility of locating her, it would be via her phone. Verizon, however, turned down this request and withheld information on the last pinged location until 4 days after the FBI had already become involved. It is simply inconceivable, in my opinion, that Kelsey's family did not use the appropriate phrase when they requested her phone location, according to Verizon officials' explanation. What sort of language were they looking for, after all? What could be more obvious than telling me where this phone is? In any case, the information was eventually given after 4 arduous and agonizing days. The tower from which Kelsey's phone was last pinged was roughly 18 to 20 miles away from the scene of her kidnapping. The site was finally determined to be Longview Lake near Grandview, Missouri, which further complicated things. It should be noted that although Kelsey was kidnapped in Kansas, her phone last ping occurred in Missouri, which is only across the state line. On June 6th, the police and FBI organized a search party and conducted a thorough search of a highly forested area. And they found her in 45 minutes, not days or hours. She was found about 1:30 p.m., but her condition was not at all what they had hoped for. Sadly, the body of 18-year-old Kelsey-Smith was discovered naked, shrouded in branches and leaves. And a belt had been used to kill her. It would be an understatement to say that the detectives' tough task of informing Kelsey's parents that her body had been found left them devastated. Friends, family, and Kelsey's parents were in shock at what they were hearing. She was gone after merely going to Target, something she had done countless times. The agony, sorrow, and anguish that Kelsey's sister must have experienced are beyond my comprehension. She had things to run, so she chose not to accompany Kelsey. It was not her fault at all, but the number of what-ifs that were going through her sister's head must have been crippling. However, the guilt is undoubtedly comprehensible. However, the detectives still needed to identify the culprit despite having located Kelsey's body. They went back to the target in the Macy's CCTV film to do this. You see, on June 2nd, at approximately 9:17 p.m., Kelsey's automobile was discovered abandoned at Macy's. Therefore, something or someone was visible to the investigators when they looked at Target's CCTV film at about the same time. Before leaving, a man wearing a light-colored shirt was observed boarding a Chevrolet pickup from the 1970s. The police were unable to see much of the car since it was dark, but it had a striking resemblance to the truck that was parked directly next to Kelsey's car on the earlier that day's video. Thus, the truck matched when investigators looked at the footage from 6 p.m. and 9:22 p.m. However, the police were still unable to identify the precise owner of this truck. At this point, the investigators released the video of the man and the truck to the public and requested any leads or information the locals might have on the individual. And before you knew it, the calls were coming in. Additionally, one of them resulted in a case breakthrough. A woman called in as soon as the public saw close-up photos of the man and the pickup truck. According to her, the man resembled her neighbor, who also owned the same pickup truck. Edwin Jack Hall, age 26, was that man. He has a son who was 4 years old and was married. They had their man, the police knew. Edwin's arrest occurred on the evening of June 6th, just as his family was getting ready to depart on vacation. Edwin's car was full of suitcases when the cops arrived at his house, but fortunately, they didn't offer him much leeway. He was taken into custody right away and accused of aggravated kidnapping and premeditated first-degree murder. His relatives couldn't speak. What started out as an enjoyable family vacation has now evolved into something very different. Edwin had no prior adult offenses when the investigators looked into his criminal background. However, the same could not be stated for his early years. After being placed in foster care, Edwin attempted to use a bread knife to harm his adoptive sister after being adopted by a family. Even though he was only 15 at the time, he was mature enough to see that this was unacceptable. Edwin was later charged with assault after using a baseball bat to hit a small boy's head. Edwin had violent and vicious inclinations that were evident for many years. Like all other criminals, Edwin first pretended to be unaware when questioned by the police. However, there was a perfect match between his fingerprints and those on Kelsey's automobile seatbelt. Given that Edwin was spotted following Kelsey throughout Target and that his fingerprint was discovered in her car, how could he have known nothing about her? Edwin was lying through his teeth, and the investigators knew it. He was eventually interrogated by the cops and placed under $5 million bail. The investigators then disclosed that he was eligible for the death penalty due to the charges he was facing, just to watch him struggle and possibly extract some more information from him. Edwin confessed to the crime in order to escape being executed because he was unable to maintain the deception any longer. Edwin acknowledged that he was instantly drawn to Kelsey when she arrived into the Target parking lot a minute after him, at approximately 6 o'clock in the evening, despite the fact that he was already married and a father. But when did anyone ever stop because of that? In any case, he chose to follow Kelsey around to find out if she was interacting with anyone else in the store. After that, Edwin made the terrible admission that he enjoyed Kelsey's legs. What he did next, however, was really disgusting. He stepped outside and waited until Kelsey was totally exposed. And when he felt it was appropriate, he came up to Kelsey brandishing a weapon and shoved her into her own vehicle. As demonstrated in the video, Edwin climbed into the driver's seat and sped out of the parking lot after Kelsey was inside. He exploited Kelsey after driving 20 miles from Target into a forested region in Missouri. and he immediately killed her to keep her from causing him trouble. Edwin drove back after performing the animalistic act, left Kelsey's car at Macy's, went to his pickup truck, which was still parked at Target, and drove away as if nothing had happened. The cops intended to prosecute this disgusting individual for what he did to Kelsey in light of all of this facts. However, there was a single issue. The location of the trial was much debated because Kelsey was initially kidnapped from Kansas and Edwin committed the crime in Missouri. But this has always been one of those things that has left me completely perplexed. A police officer or two is undoubtedly watching this footage right now. So, could you perhaps explain to me why the location of the trial matters in cross-county instances like this? The man is a killer, you know that. You are well aware of what he did and to whom. So why not choose a jurisdiction by flipping a coin? We all know exactly what happened, no matter where it happened, so why drag it out for days or weeks? In any case, Edwin was presented with a plea bargain by the prosecution. He would not be executed if he entered a guilty plea to all of the accusations. Edwin wasted no time in expressing his agreement. Kelsey's loved ones were crammed into the courtroom, and they all wanted to see this monster make amends for his actions. Edwin was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole on September 16, 2007, over 2 months after entering a guilty plea. Edward cried and apologized to Kelsey's family at the sentencing, as though it would change anything or bring her back. During Kelsey's parents' victim impact statements, they were extremely distraught and tearful. Although they were pleased that Kelsey had at last received the justice she was due, it was insufficient to make up for what had been taken from them. If Kelsey's parents had any sympathy, it was for Edwin's son, who was a helpless youngster who had no idea what his wicked father was capable of. Having grown up without his parents, Edwin now had to raise his own son without his father. Despite the fact that the perpetrator of Kelsey's violent, unexpected, and senseless death was in prison, Greg and Missy found many gaps and mistakes in the investigation, particularly in determining Kelsey's last known location. Due to privacy regulations, it took Verizon 4 days to provide Kelsey's location, but it was thanks to this location that she was eventually located. The investigators were able to locate her in about 45 minutes. This matter would have been resolved far faster if Verizon had first acted upon the Smith family's request. Now, I'll concede that there might be some parts of this information release that I just don't understand, but in my opinion, there's no justification for keeping this material secret for 4 days during a homicide investigation. It's not as though knowing this information sooner would have saved Kelsey's life, to be fair. In a different scenario, this length of time could spell the difference between life and death, but in this case, she was already gone by the time she was ever reported missing. Phone carriers only provided location, text message, and call information at the time of Kelsey's disappearance, either at the subscriber's request or in response to a court order. Additionally, if you have any knowledge of crimes and warrants, you are aware that they take time, which is crucial in cases involving disappearances. This led to the creation of the Kelsey-Smith Act. According to this statute, cell phone carriers are required to provide authorities with information, such as the location of the phone, if someone is in danger so that they can promptly track them down and, ideally, find them uninjured. Although this act was signed into law in Kansas in 2009, it was sadly not approved by the U.S. House of Representatives in 2016. However, I don't see how this deed was overturned. My sole hypothesis is that voluntary disappearance would constitute a privacy violation, but that's only a hunch. Greg and Missy have been working to pass the Kelsey-Smith Act into federal law since 2009. They are doing so because they do not want anybody else to experience what happened to Kelsey. Greg and Missy have established the Kelsey-Smith Foundation, a platform for young children and teenagers to be conscious of the evil around them, in order to keep Kelsey alive in the hearts of others. The organization provides self-defense instruction, which Greg, a former police officer, also taught his kids. Anyone interested in self-defense can attend seminars and awareness campaigns. This instance was just so crazy to think that evil can't be stopped, even in the middle of the day. It's just relaxing. A random stranger with malicious intent attacked Kelsey. In a busy environment, Kelsey believed she was safe and failed to notice the danger approaching. Imagining Kelsey being pushed into her own car by a fearsome, armed creature must have been extremely difficult and agonizing. Even in an apparently safe setting, it's crucial to monitor your surroundings. Keep in mind that if your intuition tells you something is off, it most likely is, regardless of what others say. Almost always correct. Intuition can help you avoid situations that could endanger your life. We appreciate your interest in this new True Crime Stories Hub episode. As always, please remember to subscribe if you like this video and take a look at this other fascinating case I discussed. It keeps you updated on all of my upcoming videos and is completely free. I will see you all at the next one.